A choke point that controls the world. Dark cinematic music. Slow zoom over ocean waters. Imagine a narrow strip of water, so small, it barely shows on a global map. Now imagine that same place controlling the flow of energy for the entire planet. Every day, millions of barrels of oil pass through it, silently powering cities, industries, and entire nations. Now imagine that flow suddenly slows down. Ships hesitate. Routes become dangerous. And uncertainty spreads across global markets. This isn't fiction. This is the reality of the Strait of Hormuz crisis of 2026, a moment when the world came dangerously close to disruption on a massive scale. The most critical waterway on Earth. Map animation with highlighted route located between Iran and Oman. This narrow passage is one of the most important trade routes on Earth. At its tightest point, it's only a few dozen kilometers wide, yet it carries nearly 20% of the world's oil supply, around 1/4 of global seaborne oil trade, massive volumes of natural gas exports on an average day. More than 100 ships pass through, many heading toward major energy consumers like China, India, and Japan. For these economies, this route isn't optional, it's essential. If it slows down, the entire world feels the impact almost immediately. What triggered the 2026 crisis? Tension builds. News-style visual. In early 2026, geopolitical tensions in the region escalated rapidly. Military actions, strategic warnings, and rising uncertainty created a dangerous environment around the strait. What made this moment different was not just conflict, but proximity to a global lifeline. Shipping companies began reassessing risk. Insurance premiums surged overnight. Some vessels delayed entry. Others rerouted completely. The strait didn't fully close, but even a partial disruption was enough to shake global confidence. Shipping slows down, not stops. Visual. Slowed traffic. Waiting vessels. Contrary to dramatic headlines, ships didn't disappear entirely. Instead, something more subtle and more dangerous happened. They slowed down. Tankers waited offshore. Cargo vessels paused schedules. Shipping lanes became unpredictable. Why? Because the risks were suddenly very real. Increased naval presence, potential maritime threats, drone surveillance, and security concerns. Uncertainty about escalation. Even a delay of a few hours in this region can ripple across global supply chains. And during the peak of the crisis, daily traffic dropped significantly, far below normal levels. The global economic shock. Fast cuts, fuel stations, markets, headlines. When energy flow is disrupted, everything reacts. Oil prices surged rapidly, crossing critical thresholds. Markets became volatile. Airlines faced rising fuel costs. Shipping expenses increased worldwide. Why? Because this single choke point connects supply to demand. Even a small disruption here can lead to rising inflation across multiple countries, increased cost of living, pressure on developing economies, strain on global supply chains. Experts warned that prolonged instability could trigger broader economic consequences, including slowed growth and financial instability. The human impact. Softer tone, emotional shift. While much of the focus remained on oil and economics, the human impact was often overlooked. Sailors found themselves navigating one of the most uncertain maritime zones in the world. Workers relying on shipping routes faced delays. Supply chains carrying essential goods slowed down. Flights in nearby regions adjusted routes to avoid potential risks. For many, this wasn't just a geopolitical event, it was a disruption to daily life. Why the strait never fully closes? Strategic tone. Despite the tension, one thing remained clear: the Strait of Hormuz rarely, if ever, fully shuts down. Why? Because too much depends on it. Global powers maintain a presence in the region. Energy markets rely on its stability. Even countries involved in tensions depend on its function. A complete closure would not just affect one region, it would trigger a worldwide crisis. Instead, what we often see is controlled pressure, not total shutdown. Climax. A warning to the world. The events of 2026 revealed something critical. The global system is highly interconnected, but also incredibly fragile. One narrow waterway. One regional conflict. One global reaction. The margin between stability and disruption is smaller than most people realize. Outro. Final thought. Fade to calm ocean. The Strait of Hormuz is more than just a route on a map. It's a reminder that sometimes the smallest places hold the greatest power. And in a connected world, what happens in one narrow passage can echo across the entire planet.